this question, what is God like? It's a big one, right? If someone asked you, what is God like? How would you answer that question? It's not a throwaway question. It's actually one of the most important questions a human being can ask. And yet, it's also a question too big for any one answer. If we had all of time and all of eternity to explore the depths of who God is, we would never reach the end of understanding God. That's how glorious He is. God is not fully knowable. And that's a good thing, because if we could fully know God, He'd be a small God. But what He has revealed of Himself is truly knowable. He has revealed Himself to us through His Word and through Jesus. Not everything, we don't know everything about God, but what we do know about Him is enough. And what we see in the Bible is breathtaking. Last week we looked a little bit at the incredible truth of God is love, and how that's who He is. He's always been a Father loving His Son in the joy of the Holy Spirit. That before anything was created, before time began, God existed in a relationship of eternal joy and love. Father, Son, and Spirit. And that we looked at how that love didn't begin when we arrived. He didn't start loving when He created, like some of the other gods of major world religions have to go with, because there was a time when, for example, a single person God would have been lonely. That's not our God. It wasn't triggered by our existence. It's always been there. God's love has always been there. Love is the very nature of God Himself. And that's where we began last time. With a God who's relational at the very core of who He is. Personal and overflowing with love. But with God there's more to see than that. Because God hasn't just told us that He is love. And that's my aim this morning, not to just give you an information download. I want us to lift our eyes up. I want us to see the beauty of God. I want to stir our hearts. I want to steady our souls. And we're going to do that by looking at a passage in Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 40. I'll give you a little time to, if you've got a blue Bible, turn to Isaiah 40. We're going to be starting at 25. If somebody wants to shout out the page number on the blue Bibles, help them, is that good? 726. That was a quick sound. 726, page 726. And in this passage, it's quite a famous chapter of the Bible. But what we have here is an encouragement given to weary people. People who needed to be reminded of who God really is. And I feel like sometimes we're weary people. Life can make us tired. And we do grow tired and weary. And this encouragement is for you today, if you're feeling that way. If you're struggling to find it, it's also on the screen. Okay, on the screen. So that's the question. Let me read verse 25. It says this. So this is God speaking, by the way, okay? To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal, says the Holy One. Let's begin with what God says about Himself. Not what we imagine God is like, not what we prefer God would be like this, not our preference. No, here God is speaking, telling us what He is like. And He asks us a question. He says, whom will you compare me? Who's my equal? And it's not really a question. It's actually a challenge in this context. It's a wake-up call. God is saying here, there is no one like me. No one even close. And that's what it means for God to be holy. It means He is set apart. It means He is utterly unique. It means He's morally perfect. Beautiful in purity. Holiness doesn't just mean good. It means glorious. It means that He isn't just a bigger, better version of you and I. It's not like if you could imagine the most perfect human, that's what holiness is. It's not like an upgraded human, it's an altogether otherness greater than us. And it's a bit like trying to compare, I don't know, a tree to a car.
Not happening, is it?
It's not happening, that's right. You could go for all the cars in the world. You could probably get a green and brown car. There was cars in America back in the day, they had these wooden paneling on the sides. Remember those wagons? They were great. But they're not a tree. Trees are actually different to a car. God created everything. He's the only thing uncreated. So we can't compare God to anything because God made it all. It's God in one category, and then there's everything else in another category. Holiness is complete separation. Holy, holy, holy. And God is the only being by nature who is holy. There are holy people, but that's because they're in a holy God. You and I, we're not holy. We don't become holy when we become Christians. God shares His holiness with us. When we're in Christ, that means we get everything that's His. So you can't become holy by anything that you do. You get to share in God's holiness. Isn't that amazing? God is greater than us. He's altogether different to us. That's why Isaiah calls Him the Holy One. Because holiness is God's signature. Or certainly one of them. It uniquely belongs to God. Because God is the only being uncreated. So we can't shrink God down. We can't compare God to anything else. And yet, that's what we sometimes try and do, I think. We imagine God sometimes a bit like a boss, or like a comparison to our earthly fathers, or even like ourselves. But none of those things, none of those comparisons hold up. Because God is not made in our image. Right? We are made in His image. When you begin to see that, when you realize just how holy God is, how separate He is from literally everything else, it does something in your heart. It should humble you. It should silence the pride in you. Thinking about God's holiness should clear away casual, shallow thoughts of God. And at the same time, it invites us into worship. God's holiness is not cold or distant. It's majestic. It's beautiful. What does it mean? It means that God will never act in sin. He will never lie. He will never fail you. He will never stop being perfect. Perfectly good. So that means you can trust Him. You can trust Him with everything. Because there's no darkness in Him at all. He is not unpredictable. He is not corrupt. He cannot be corrupted. He is not moody. He is holy, utterly different, utterly other to us. And that means He is worthy of your whole life. So, just a little thought as we move on. Have you tried to make God smaller than He is? Have you treated Him casually? Have you forgotten that the one who loves you is also the one whom angels cover their faces? Today, I want to encourage you, lift your eyes up and see the Holy One. There is no one like Him, and that's a very good thing. Let's carry on into Isaiah verse 26 to 28. It's going to be on the screen. It says this: lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these? He who brings out the starry host, one by one, and calls forth each of them by name. Because of His great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. So what Isaiah is doing here now, he's taking the camera lens and he's zooming it out. Way, way out. He tells you, look up, lift your eyes, see the stars. Not just a handful we can see in Barry on a starry night, clear night. We see a few of the stars, but no, look up at the vast, uncountable host of stars, spanning galaxies, constellations. Isaiah says God made all of that. He brings them out one by one, like a shepherd calling his sheep. He knows their names. Billions upon trillions of stars, and not one of them is hidden from God. Why? Because God made them. And not only that, God sustains them. And God watches over every single one of them. That's the scale of his power. But Isaiah doesn't just want you to be amazed at creation. He wants you to realise what that creation reveals. When we look at the stars, what's it reveal about God to us? That God is eternal. And that God is creator. Let's take one of those, take those one at a time. God is eternal. The Lord is the everlasting God, Isaiah says. There was never a time when God did not exist. There will never be a time where God does not exist. God has no beginning. He has no end. He does not age. There is no expiry date with God. I don't know who's in my club here. When milk passes the expiry date, who else pours it down the sink? Anyone else? Judy's shaking her head because that's exactly what Rachel, my wife, does. No, sniff test. No, it's gone past this. Just milk. It's just milk. God has no expiry date. He doesn't run on batteries. God doesn't need food. God doesn't need rest. God doesn't need water. Do you remember when Moses asked for God's name? God said his name is I am. Not I was. Not I will be. Not give me a minute. Not I'll be there in a minute. That's a Welshism, isn't it? No. He is I am. He is the everlasting God. What does that mean for you? It means your life isn't an accident. It means the story of your life fits into something eternal. It means you're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. The God who saw the beginning already knows your ending. And he holds you in between. You can trust him. If you belong to God, he is with you through every storm of your life, even the one that takes you home. God is leading you through it. You can trust him. He doesn't just see the big picture. It's not like God, he sees the big picture. He is the big picture. Secondly, God is the creator of the ends of the earth. Everything that exists owes its existence to him. Planets, mountains, oceans, atom, light, heat, life itself. And yes, you. You are made by God on purpose and for a purpose. And because he is your creator, he knows what you are made for. When life feels confusing, when suffering hits, when your soul aches, remember, Richard Dawkins is wrong. You are not a random collection of cells spinning on a forgotten rock in space. You are crafted by the hands that set the stars in place. The one who calls every star by name knows your name too. Because when we forget who God is, everything else feels bigger than it really is in comparison to our eternal creator God. When we forget how big God is, our fears grow, our worries start to dominate our minds, our hope starts to shrink. But when we look up, when you see the stars, and remember who flung them into space, it should help your perspective shift. a reorientation to your Creator. And you remember, the world is not out of control. Your life is not without meaning. History itself is not random. Because above all, and before it all, and sustaining it all, is the eternal Creator, the God we worship. And He is not tired. I don't know about you, but I mean, I turned 40 this year, and I think I'm starting to feel tighter than I was when I was in my 20s. Why is that? Caffeine can disguise it, right? You stop having caffeine and then you realise you grow tired. Let's carry on reading Isaiah. We're studying verse 28. This is about God. He will not grow tired or weary, and His understanding no one can fathom. Let that sink in. God, He will not grow tired. God, He will not grow weary. Think about that. Everything around us, everything else changes, everything. And we have this weird thing in our lives where today feels like our whole life has been like what today is like. Because our concept of time is strange. Everything changes. The seasons change. The culture around us changes. Your job changes. Your health changes. Your emotions change. Your family grows and shrinks and changes. Even the strongest people you know, they can burn out. They can get tired. They can break under pressure. But not God. He doesn't grow weary. He doesn't run out of strength. He doesn't get bored. He doesn't lose track. He's not shaken by the news. He's not flustered by the elections. He's not flustered by your doubts. He is not unstable. He is not unreliable. He is steady. He is constant. He is faithful. He is unchanging. He is God, the unchanging God. And that's what theologians call immutability, which means God doesn't evolve. God doesn't grow, doesn't improve. He doesn't have to learn anything. He's already perfect. It means His character doesn't fluctuate. It means His purposes don't shift with the wind. And that is such good news. Because God, if God could change, how could you ever trust Him, you might ask? What if He changed His mind about saving you? What if He changed the definition of love? What if He decided not to forgive you this next time? But God is not like that. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's why His word is reliable. That's why His covenant with His people is unbreakable. And that's why your salvation is secure. Not anything you do, but because who God is. The unchangeable God of love. You could wake up tomorrow and find that your mood has shifted. You could wake up in a bad mood. I never wake up in a bad mood. My wife always never wakes up in a bad mood. She in the room? You may wake up in a bad mood. Okay, maybe I might wake up in a bad mood, but maybe your strength feels weakened and your plans have unraveled. But God remains the same. His heart towards you is still full of grace. His heart towards you, His promises will always stand. His promises will always be fulfilled. If God says He's going to do something, He does it. In the Garden of Eden, when man walked away, God promised there and then they would send an offspring to crush the head of the snake. That was the gospel. And no matter how many times the people of God wandered and strayed and run away from God, God was faithful to bring them back because He knew through them He would send His Son Jesus. He never gives up on those He loves. Thousands thousands of years, when we talk about the faithfulness of God, we're not just talking about his faithfulness to you and to me, we're talking about his faithfulness to all his people from all the time. He is unbreakable. You can wake up tomorrow with confidence that God remains the same. His mercy is still new. His strength is still enough. Isaiah adds this, his understanding no one can fathom. So yes, you'll never fully grasp the wisdom of God. You can't trace all of his ways. But that's not a reason to be scared. It's a reason to rest. Because this unchanging God, well, he's infinitely wise. He knows what you need. He sees what you don't see. We can't go forward in time and, the gift of hindsight. We'd all love to have hindsight in advance, wouldn't we? God sees the end from the beginning. He sees things. You might have been praying faithfully for years. God, why have you not answered this prayer? You can't see what God can see. You don't need to guess with God. You can trust him fully. You don't need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You just need to trust in the one who made it. The one who sustains it and doesn't change. How do you know this is true, Reese? How can we be sure that God doesn't change his mind? Or shift his character? Or backtrack on his promises? Well, we look to Jesus. Because Jesus is not just a messenger of God. He's not a messenger of God's love to show us what God is like. No, Jesus is God's love in flesh. He is the Holy One. He is the Eternal One. He is the exact imprint of the Father's nature. And when we see him healing the sick, when we see him embracing those outside, rebuking sin and walking in perfect righteousness, we see what God is like. He doesn't change. And he doesn't turn away. Even when it costs everything. He remained faithful to his promises. Jesus did. And at the cross, we see God's holiness. God's holiness cannot let people off the hook, sin off the hook. They must meet God's justice, because God is holy. But then we see God's love as well in that moment on the cross. God did not ignore sin. He judged it. But he did not abandon sinners. He came to save them. All who call on the name of the Lord will be saved. Jesus stepped in. He took the judgment that we deserve. He suffered the wrath of a holy God. And he opened the way for you and for me to come home into this loving relationship that the Father and the Son and the Spirit have always enjoyed. So when we say that God is unchanging, we're not just quoting doctrine. We're not just memorising this for memorisation's sake. We're not remembering a doctrine. We're clinging to a person. We're clinging to our Saviour. We are holding on to our King, our Redeemer, who was, who is, and who is to come. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Let's carry on in Isaiah, verse 29 onwards. It says this: He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not be faint. And this is where it gets personal. We're talking about the amazingness, incredible, mind-blowing glory that is who God is. But this is where it gets personal. We've looked at the stars. We've lifted our eyes to the Holy One. We've marvelled at him as a creator. We've talked about anchoring ourselves in the eternal, unchanging God, how we can trust him to lead us through everything. And now Isaiah brings it down to ground level, if you like. Because if we're honest, we can know that God is holy and still feel worn out. You can know that God is creator, yet still feel broken. You can know that God never changes and still feel like you change and the people around you change, and I don't want change. So what does this glorious, eternal, unchanging God do when we're exhausted, when we're weak, when we're faltering, when we're doubting? What does this God do? This unchanging, holy, creator God. He gives you strength. He lifts the weary. He cares for the faint. And this is what God is. He meets people at the end of themselves. And He holds them up. Like He holds up all of creation, He holds up you too. That's who He is. He doesn't scold you when you're weak. He doesn't roll His eyes when you struggle. He doesn't say, come back to me when you sort yourself out. No, He draws near. He comes close. He gives strength. And that means this. If you're here today feeling weary, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling disqualified from being in this room, you're exactly the kind of person this verse is for. Even youths grow weary and tired, says Isaiah. Even the strong ones fall. Even the ones who look like they have it all together. Here's a promise. A quiet promise, but a glorious promise from God. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Not those who work harder will renew their strength. Not those who impress God, He will renew their strength. Not those who are super spiritual and go to church every Sunday, He will renew their strength. But those who hope in Him. And that's the invitation today. If you're weary, the invitation is not to grit your teeth and try harder, but to hope, to trust, to look up, to wait for the Lord and let Him do what only He can do. And here's what He promises. He says, they will soar on wings like eagles. When you put your hope in the Lord, He lifts you. Not always instantly, not always dramatically, but always faithfully, He will lift you. You may not change your circumstances. You may not feel like an eagle today. You may feel a bit more like a pigeon with a broken leg. We've seen a few of those in King Square, poor things. You may not be soaring yet, hoping the Lord. He will renew your strength. And that comes from trusting in Him. And you trust Him because He's revealed Himself to be holy, eternal, unchanging, the creator of all things. And listen, it's not your strength. That's the point. It's His strength that He gives. He gives it freely, He gives it forever, and He's faithful. And this is the thing, okay? This whole chapter is building up to something. That we don't just worship a great God. I'm going to finish with this in a moment. We don't just worship a great God. We lean on Him. We rest in Him. He renews us. So if you're tired, you're not a failure. You're a human being, okay? But the God who doesn't grow weary, He's ready to meet you. Right here, right now. So let's return to the question, what is God like? God is love, holy, eternal, unchanging. the creator of all things. And we've seen just how powerful he is. And don't miss how personal he is. He is holy. There is no one like him. He is creator. Everything exists because he made it. He is eternal. Before time, he is. He is unchanging, the same yesterday, today, and forever. And he gives strength to the weary. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. He doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. He doesn't give up. He never lets go of those who belong to him. He holds them forever. And here's the wonder of the gospel. This incredible God didn't stay distant. The Holy One stepped down. The Creator entered the creation. The Eternal One was born into time. The unchanging One walked in flesh and blood. Jesus Christ is the visible image of the invisible God. In him we see holiness, a life without sin. In him we see eternity, the Word of God made flesh, who was with God and is God. In him we see unfailing love, love that touches lepers, that weeps at gravesides, that carries a cross for us. And at that cross we see the clearest vision of what God is like. If you want to know who God is, what's he like, look at the cross. We see a God that's holy and doesn't overlook sin, but deals with it fully and finally. We see a God that in his love does not abandon sinners, but rescues them completely from start to finish. He sees the plan through. God is a starter finisher. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. So don't leave today just knowing more about God. Come to know God himself. He's made himself available to be known personally through